Welcome to 101 with Montgomery County Executive Ike Leggett. I'm Lorna Virgili, and thank you for joining us. Mr. Leggett, welcome, and thank you for sitting with us once again. How are you?
Doing very well. Thanks for having me back.
How is the summer going for you?
Been a busy summer. Unusually hot weather for us. Temperatures hovering around 100 degrees and high humidity. You combine that with the elderly population that we have in the county and trying to provide outlets for our youth, and having a very strong storm that come through the area makes it a very, very exciting but difficult and challenging summer.
The last time we sat here, we were having a little bit of fun because it was summertime and we thought it was going to be kind of like a relaxed summer. But obviously we did have that storm on June 29th and it was ravaging in the county. What is the update of the cleanup efforts? Because it's been monumental.
Well, first of all, let me thank all of our crews that have worked throughout the entire duration of the storm, immediately at the beginning of the storm and right through as we speak today. Everywhere from fire and rescue, police, all the volunteers who participated in so many different programs and services that the county offers, the many people who came into work despite the fact that they did not have power at home, but made it into work so that the government facilities can operate efficiently. But really the Department of Transportation, under the leadership of Art Holmes and his crew, they've done a terrific job of removing the debris. They were working right along with the utilities to make certain that the removal of the trees would not be an impediment for their ability to work. In addition to that, we've had a massive cleanup after that, so that they've gone around throughout the county to collect debris and to remove it from county right-of-ways. That's been a huge job, working to get our lights back and operated in quick order. But the magnitude of things that they've accomplished in a relatively short period of time, working with county government employees plus our private contractors as well, I think they've done a superb job in getting the county in the condition that it's in today. We've received so many letters and comments about the magnificent job that they performed in so many different tasks throughout the county.
When this storm obviously took all of us by surprise, and there's one component that now the fire department is getting ready for, which is preparedness. A lot of our county residents perhaps were not ready for this. I know I was not. And power, some of us did not have power for about a week or so. So when it comes to preparedness, how can we remind residents to be ready for any type of emergency?
Well, the first thing we need to do is to make certain that people recognize that the storms that we've seen, although they were highly unusual, may be more frequent in the future. And so we cannot take for granted the kinds of conditions we've had in the last 2 or 3 years, where the summers have not been quite as acute in terms of weather, but we should be prepared at all times. What that means, of course, is taking the necessary precautions, because unfortunately it has meant the loss of power during some of these storms. And so one of the things that we are trying to do is to make sure that we get the power restored as quickly as possible. Therefore, the preparation would not be preparation that you need to carry through for an extended period of time. So the best thing that we can do for people in these types of situations is get the power restored as quickly as possible. The second thing that we need to do is to make certain that we get information out to people in a way that they clearly understand it and know what to do, not after the storm, not during the storm, but before the storm and before these emergencies happen. They can get additional information from us at 311 and throughout the county, simply going to our website to get that. But the things that we want people to do, first of all, I've always said to check in on your neighbors and to make certain those who are in frail health that you check on them as quickly as possible. Secondly, make certain that you have batteries, candles, those kinds of things. And on the far end, people who can afford generators, the generators are selling pretty heavily in the county. I'm not suggesting that people go out and do that, but those people who can afford it obviously have done those things. And have food preparation, knowing where your medical prescriptions are located, knowing where all the family members are located, the whole series of things that we've outlined that people should in fact do in preparation for the storms. But again, it is the pre-warning. Recognize the fact that we very well may have storms, be prepared, go through the list of items that we've suggested, and we need to do a much better job of making certain that we push and ensure that Pepco gets the power back restored as quickly as possible. Those are the things that we're looking to do and to ensure.
You just mentioned Pepco. And County Council recently held a debriefing with the regional president from PEPCO, and also the chair for the Consumer Protection Commission was there, for the Maryland Public Service Commission was also there. County Council received about over 300 emails from residents, of course, that were very disgruntled regarding PEPCO's service. You yourself sent a letter to the chairman asking for some sort of accountability.
Mm-hmm.
What is next? There's been the pressure from obviously county residents, from the county executive, county council, but still, what will happen? Changes are not going to happen rather soon, because they're talking about we need to underground our lines, basically.
Well, first of all, it's not rather soon, because we started this process to get PEPCO to restructure, to make the necessary improvements 2 years ago. I put together a work group that outlined the 3 things that PEPCO needed to stress and to do. What they have not done is to follow their plan as aggressively as they should. And it calls for 3 central things I think that are important. First of all, to heighten and to make certain that the infrastructure for PEPCO is much improved. You have to enhance the infrastructure, and you do that much more aggressively than they've done thus far. That's number one. Secondly, the communication between the public, between government entities and others needs to be improved, because people not only are in the dark in terms of loss of power, but they're in the dark in terms of restoration of that power. They're in the dark in terms of when that power may come back on, and their communication facilities have not been adequate in order to handle the volume of call and get the correct information out to the customers. And thirdly, the preparation for post-storm post outages and the response that you get from that. That is, to get the crews in fast, to make certain that they're well trained, to make certain that those crews understand what they need to do, and to have that response ready, capable, with the right leadership, so that when the power goes out, we can restore it quite quickly. That's the outline that we've had for PEPCO, and the work group outline has been there. And to make certain that the Public Safety Commission looks at that report and follows and holds PEPCO to that degree of accountability that we think that you have.
Hold that thought for a second. We'll continue talking about PEPCO. We got to take a short break, and we'll be right back with Montgomery County Executive Ike Leggett. Welcome back to this edition of 101 with Montgomery County Executive Ike Leggett. And before we went to our commercial break, we were talking about PEPCO and its performance during the storm back in June. One of the things that we're talking about, the one hearing that took place at County Council, this debriefing hearing, and PEPCO claims we're trying to do the best that we can under the circumstances. Then you had the chair of the Public Service Commission say we hire a contractor to investigate PEPCO 2 years ago, and we fined him with $1 million. Now we're going to hear back from them. This is part of our new regulations. We're going to hear back from them, and they have them till September 1st. Some of the council members were saying if the regulators don't do anything, it's time to change the regulators then. So there's still a lot of anger against PEPCO within county government.
Well, it goes beyond the regulators. The regulators can only regulate within the framework in which they have authority to regulate. And clearly they need to make sure that they maximize the authority that they already have. But there are some legislative changes that we wanted to see accomplished in Annapolis 2 years ago. We're not able to get that. And not able to get that really, I think, reduced the effectiveness of the regulators to in fact regulate. So we need to go back and look at some legislative changes that I think could be much more telling in terms of accountability that I think we need to address. But clearly, the regulators need to look at how they can more effectively hold PEPCO in terms of its accountability. And one way, of course, is to ensure that they have higher fines. I was disappointed that recently the regulators decided to, in fact, provide a small rate increase. They reduced significantly the rate increase that PEPCO had sought. But I thought in these circumstances and conditions, a rate increase was not warranted. Those are the kinds of things that they need to do, and they make certain that they hold them accountable. Let's
switch the topic a little bit here. With this the process of rebuilding begins for a lot of county homeowners. And the county's Office of Consumer Protection, it's sort of warning homeowners to make sure that they contract the right contractor, to make sure that they're licensed with a state, just to sort of avoid scams. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, what happens, unfortunately, when you have storms of this magnitude, the scam artists come out of the woodwork because they know one or two things. People are desperate to get their homes, their properties restored as quickly as possible. Secondly, they know that people are probably prepared to pay a little bit more than they normally would pay and will not hassle them about the cost, and they can contract from a better position. And thirdly, there are an awful lot of people who are not really informed about the various scams that are out there and therefore fall for those things. And so when you have that kind of an atmosphere where you have fewer contracts that probably we should have in terms of the magnitude of the work, and people are searching to get contractors, it is easy for people to fall prey that a contractor comes around, provides, at least on the surface, what appears to be an appropriate cost to do work within a timely fashion, and you end up paying most often an upfront fee for work that is scheduled to start that day or the following day, and the contractors obviously disappear. The second thing is that contractors who in fact work do shabby work. And so you need to contact the Office of Consumer Protection to make sure that the people you have, are certified, that they are legitimate contractors, that they have the appropriate bonding capacity to require them to do the work and performance that they have. And if you have any questions about them, then you can contact Consumer Affairs to make certain that we check those people out and so forth. But do not go forward and pay big monies up front. Do not fall for any of these scams that say that they're going to do work on a schedule and you have to provide some form of money, and you never see those contractors again. If you have any questions about them, and go to reputable contractors if you need to, and if you need to wait a little bit, I think it's best to do that rather than to take someone that may appear to be convenient, may appear to be cost effective, and you're not to get the work done at all.
Yeah, you mentioned that upfront fee, according to state laws, is not more than, I think, a third of what the contract itself would be for reconstruction.
But see, keep in mind, a third is a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
If you're talking a contract work of $15,000, $20,000, that could be $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 easily. Mm-hmm. And a person is willing to take a third and simply disappear because that's $4,000 or $5,000. And you replicate that throughout the county, that's a pretty significant haul of money.
It is. It is, and for those viewers that are interested, you can always dial 311 to contact our Office of Consumer Protection, or 777-240-777-3636. Let's change a little bit the topic here and leave the storm sort of behind for a moment. Although I didn't ask you, what is going to be the tap on the county of the cleanup and all of that? Do we know yet?
Well, we don't have the exact figures, but I'm thinking it'd be in excess of $10 million. We are about that number, and that number grows. And that's a huge price to pay, but we wanted to make certain that we reduce the inconvenience to our residents as quickly as possible. A huge amount of debris that's out there. We had to do a large amount of cutting the trees and trimming back in order to get power restored. If we had not done that, then the delay in getting power restored and the inconvenience in terms of the access on roads, I think would have been simply unacceptable in such a long period of time. So I thought the amounts of money that we spent was well worthwhile.
We are going to talk now about some groundbreakings. It's been the month of groundbreaking, believe it or not, as far as good projects that are happening in the county. Let's talk first about the redevelopment of the White Flint area, which is the Pike and Rose groundbreaking. It's going to be huge right there in the corner of Montrose and 355.
Well, it's just one phase of a larger phase of the overall White Flint development, or the redevelopment or rezoning, the sector plan for White Flint. This ultimately would include probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 40,000 additional jobs in the White Flint area. Would involve probably, in terms of expenditures on public transportation in that area alone, about $800 million between the county, private developers, and a transportation district fund. But it's a wonderful project that I think will enhance the ambiance and the life conveniences of people who would have a mixed-use development near Metro and enhanced transit and other options that will allow, I think, for a very good and large project to flourish right in the heart of Montgomery County.
1,500 apartments right there in that corner.
That's just in one corner. That's
Well,
not the, that's
just
just
one
one
corner.
project. There's several other projects to follow.
Wow. All right, we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back with Montgomery County Executive Ike Leggett. Don't go away. Welcome back to 101 with Montgomery County Executive Ike Leggett. I'm Lorna Virgili, and we were talking before the break about all the groundbreakings we've had in the last few days here in the county. Good news for the Wheaton Fire Rescue Squad. They're going to have a brand new headquarters, state-of-the-art, right there in the corners of Georgia and Arcola Avenue. I'm happy because it's my neighborhood. And hopefully I won't need their services,
Right.
but it's great to see that they're actually we'll be moving into a bigger location, and you were there for the groundbreaking.
Yes, it's long overdue. The current station is inadequate in terms of the ability to handle all of the equipment, the number of personnel that we have there, and this one would be more ideally located in a more strategic location that would allow for greater access to Georgia Avenue and the many residents that are both in the center hub of Wheaton as well as up and down the Georgia Avenue corridor. So I think it's a station to which our volunteers and our career firefighters have worked for and sought for many years to have this kind of space, the kind of equipment, and the kind of resources that are necessary in order to have what I consider to be a first-rate station. And the station itself, I think, would be an outstanding addition to that particular corner and will allow a level of safety and protection for our residents.
The community has changed, and so have the needs. And talking to some of the firefighters, they do say that the number of emergency calls, they really could not handle them anymore from the little station they have up in Grandview.
Well, certainly, it's just inadequate for that. So it would allow us to bring additional equipment, a larger station, additional personnel, and we'll take into consideration all of those factors as we move forward. But that's not the only groundbreaking we had. You know, we had a new police station to be dedicated, and we got a new fire station that's going to be dedicated in Treville in a few days as well. And so when you look at the impetus of what we're trying to do is to respond in terms of reducing the response time for our emergency personnel so that we can get to people quicker, because that's the most effective way in which to save lives, that is to reduce the response time. Secondly, to more strategically locate the new police district for Silver Spring that will be located right in the White Oak area that would permit us even a greater access up and down the 29 Pike as well. So, and you add to that, Trevelle, it suggests here that we're making strategic investment in the proper location for public safety that would enhance this county and reduce and save lives in the long term.
That, the police station, the 3rd District Police Station, that's the one that covers, so you said the Route 29 corridor, all the way from
Yes,
Silver
Spring, all the way up Briggs Cheney, and all the way up to Burnsville.
Burnsville.
Right. Yeah.
Burnsville. Let's switch a little bit to transportation. Recently, there was a fire in one of the ride-on buses. Fortunately, it was out of service at the time. Nobody got injured. But you pulled out the Champion fleet to be replaced. How many of those buses are out of commission, and when are we getting the new ones?
All of the Champion buses are out of our fleet and will not come back as long as I'm county executive. We will not use the Champion buses anymore. We've had a number of incidents that have occurred over the last few months or so, all not involving fires, but involving things that I think to be extreme challenges in terms of public safety. We have employees that are riding and utilizing those buses, and on occasion we've had passengers in the buses themselves. So it is too much of a risk, in my opinion, to have buses on the road in conditions of heat and humidity that will generate the strain and the difficulties that buses will face, and with the potential loss of life, that I was not prepared to take that chance. And so I decided to in effect, just remove all the Champions from our fleet, and we have grounded those buses, and they will not come back in our fleet.
When and how are we replacing them?
Well, we're replacing them with a variety of, we had already started replacing some of them, and we were replacing them from a variety of sources. Additional metro buses that we're getting from the metro system, buses that we're getting from other carriers in the Pennsylvania area. We will gradually build back up. There'll be a little bit of inconvenience because in a few routes we will be on what we call the holiday schedule per se. But the inconvenience will only be for a number of routes. It may take a little bit longer in terms of the bus's arrival. But I'd rather much have us go through that level of inconvenience rather than the risk, potential loss of life as a result of the utilization of the Champion buses. It is my anticipation that the next couple of weeks we'll have all of those buses replaced and we'll be back to normal services.
Continuing on transportation, buses and roads. Recently, there was the celebration of the completion of repaving of approximately, 43 miles?
44 miles.
44 miles of roads in the county with funding from the Recovery Act. Tell us where those roads are, because I still drive around the county and I still find potholes.
Well, this is a large county and it covers 500 square miles, so it's a huge county. So we dedicated over the period of time somewhere in the neighborhood of $6.4 million, covering about 44 miles of road improvement. It was more than just paving the roads. Stormwater changes, striping the roads. We added sidewalks in certain areas. And so it's about, in each area of the county, we've gone through that. Most recently, the last one completed was Shady Grove Road, New Hampshire Avenue, for example, in the county. So we've gone through a number of those road projects throughout the county, but this was part of a $168 million recovery funds given to the county in terms of schools, environmental initiatives, transportation. And we put that money to good use. More importantly, though, it provides for safety and convenience for people who are utilizing those roads, and also jobs for contractors who've contracted workers to go out and make certain that we have those investments. That helps the quality of life, it helps our tax base, it also helps economic development, and it helps the county overall in terms of its image and the difficulties of fighting through many of those potholes that you just described.
Well, I'm happy about the Veers Mill repaving. I don't know if that was with that money or not, but I'm very content about that. We have just a few minutes left. A couple of big events that took place here in the county. The AT&T National at Congressional Country Club, the golf tournament. Money-wise, how much do we make here in the county?
Well, we're still counting, but it was a great success as usual. It's been a huge effort on the part of the county to help provide the infrastructure and the support to make it happen. And so it's a huge economic benefit to the county as well. And it also serves the county very well because Congressional is an outstanding country club and course to play on. It gives us literally worldwide attention.
And the other thing, the U.S. Olympic diving team was actually recently in some of the county pools doing training and demonstrations, state-of-the-art pools. Who knew?
That's right. The Germantown Aquatic Center, we had the dive team that came in and performed in its preparation for its trip to London and to provide the impetus for a wonderful send-off from Montgomery County. And I'm hopeful that our team will come back with loads of gold based on their performance and the send-off that we provided here from Montgomery County.
Well, definitely it's been a fun and interesting, busy summer.
It certainly has thus far.
It has been. Mr. Leggett, thank you so much for sitting here with us, and I'll see you again next month.
Yeah.
For you that are watching us, remember any information regarding our county, just visit montgomerycountymd.gov or call 311. I'm Lorna Virgili, and thank you for watching.